Hello fellow Beastians, this is your one and only gaming beast, and today we're going to talk about Lionheart, Legacy of the Crusader, a role-playing game released for the PC by Black Isle Studios and developed by Reflexive Entertainment in 2003. Why is this game interesting to me? Why do I find it enjoyable from all the many thousands of PC role-playing games out there? Well, I enjoy it for many factors, but one of the factors is the setting. Let me tell you about this setting, okay? Imagine yourself in Europe, in our world, but in the 11th century, about the early, the Middle Ages, around the time of the Third Crusade. Richard the Lionheart, the king of Britain at that time, who was fighting in the Crusades. In this world, there was the Siege of Acre also, and there was a massacre of 3,000 prisoners, which a villainous character used as a fuel for a magical ritual that tore a fabric in reality. Now you got to realize in this world there was no magic up to this point. It was just like our world up to this point. But because he has done this ritual, magic suddenly burst out in a kind of an explosive force, and it changed the world forever. Imagine now yourself 500 years later in the 16th century. This is where you actually start the game. Now, it's quite interesting because the world has changed quite a lot with the introduction of magic. I mean, not only do you have all kinds of monsters and creatures and spirits roaming and demons roaming the world, you also have, literally, the earth has changed. Like, through the magic, entire areas of Europe have sunken, and England is like a collection of islands. And your character starts here, in this age and time. You basically wake up in a slave pit in Barcelona, Spain. Suddenly, a creepy-looking spirit appears, and he talks to you and helps you get out of the jail. The point is that this is where your game starts, and you find yourself in Barcelona. Then you meet Leonardo da Vinci, and he puts you on his merry way.
So good to see that you found my workshop. Per favore, be careful in this place. There are many gears and moving parts. So many delicate machines.
Ooh, he's kind of a steampunk wizard kind of thing, where he uses magic and technology in a sense. But anyway, what makes this interesting, this game, is of course the setting, because it's a very weird and very different setting. Not a typical fantasy setting full of orcs and elves and such. It is our world, but yet it isn't. And that's what I find very interesting. I mean, even at character creation, you don't have the typical races to pick from. You have things you can choose. Basically, humans, you can either choose a normal pure-blood human, or you can choose one of the different races, which are humans that are somehow tainted, as they call it, by the event that happened with the rip in space and time and magic came back. They were changed forever. There are entire races that are like that, but they're not your elves and orcs and stuff. You have, for example, the demonkin, which are kind of these half-demon, half-imp kind of humans. Or you could play a feralkin, who is more a half-beast, half-human, and they're much stronger in general. Or you could play the magical kind of blue-headed Sylvans, who are much more magical, and they are also attuned to more holy magic. And then at character creation, not only can you choose your perks, yes, as the special system, like in Fallout, you can, every couple of levels you can choose a perk. You can also choose your spirit with whom you will talk, and he will be your NPC, and he will give you also different bonuses to your sphere of magic. Which is basically either an elemental spirit, which will give you a bonus to divine magic, a bestial spirit, which will give you a bonus to tribal magic, and a demonic spirit, which will give you a bonus to thought magic. And it's really cool because you got a lot of different spells you can develop, and a lot of different skills you can focus on. And of course you have also the perks, just like in Fallout, and that's the special system. What's cool about it is that you have all kinds of perks to change and mold your character, and really you can, in a way, min-max the shit out of it, but it's also cool in a way you can, in a sense, role-play. I would say just go ahead and play and figure out and find out what all these cool perks are. I mean, this kind of in-depth character creation really adds to the replayability of a game like that. Because there's, for example, entire quests that you can only choose if you have a high enough intelligence score, you know. Of course, you've got all kinds of factions. I mean, you start in Barcelona and Spain, and then you go to France, and you go to England, and there's a whole plot and storyline, which is really well a combination of the real human history that happened back in that time, interwoven with all kinds of magic and magical creatures and just demons and beasts and creatures of myths and legends that we had. And suddenly these creatures are real in this world, and you have yourself a legacy of sort, a destiny. You meet all sorts of interesting people of history. I mean, you have guys like Leonardo da Vinci, and you have Shakespeare.
Salutations and greetings to you. I am Melpomene's confidant and Thalia's clown. A playwright poor in coin, but rich in talent. I have a moment if you wish to speak, but please, consider brevity the soul of wit.
You have Cortez.
It is certainly my good fortune that you arrived when you did. That man makes serpents seem trustworthy. Oh, allow me to properly introduce myself. I am Hernán Cortés, a former conquistador for España and explorer of the New World.
All kinds of really cool, interesting historical. More I won't really tell you about the story. There's all sorts of stuff going on, and I haven't quite finished it yet, since there's a lot of gameplay in this game. Let's get to the combat. The combat is really cool. It reminds me, imagine if you would be playing Baldur's Gate, but with one character. It doesn't feel as much as Fallout. The character creation definitely feels like Fallout, you know, but when you actually fight, you don't move. It's not a turn-based system. It's actually more like you can pause the game at any time, just like Baldur's Gate, and then you can give commands to your character. But at times it feels like they kind of almost mashed Diablo 2 with Baldur's Gate and a little bit of Fallout. It works actually pretty well. But what really happens is there's a lot of combat in this game, and this is one of my few gripes about this game, is that you have a really cool story moment, you know, as Swingle would say, cool story bro moment, and then you have a lot of combat, and I mean a lot of combat. You will be plowing through enemies of enemies, and a lot of times similar enemies or the same enemies in certain dungeons, and it can get a little repetitive, but it is fun, especially once you get to the end of the dungeons, and the fights can be really challenging at times, but I don't mind that. The backtracking is another thing that sometimes annoys me. Other than that, I enjoy this game a lot, and I would recommend it to you if you want to play a good old-school RPG on the PC, and maybe you like Baldur's Gate, but you wanted to play with one character, or maybe you're a fan of Fallout and you want to play with a special system in a really interesting setting. I can only recommend this to you. Well, fellow Beastians, this will be it for the Death Mug of Doom!